So the entire session will be recorded, and I will be sharing the recording with you right after the session. All right, so I think without further ado, I don't need to ask if all of you have worked on PowerPoint earlier. Of course you have. I will be sharing the presentation and the recording with you, so you can always go back and practice on your own. My suggestion is not to do anything right now. The reason is because if you try to practice right now, you will not get enough time and you might miss out on some things that I'm teaching you, right? So my suggestion is not to practice anything right now at the moment. Take all the time you want. Even after the session, if you have any queries, you're more than welcome to come back. Excellent. Now I'm working on Office 365. Some of you might be working on Office 2019, 16, 13, 10. Some of you might be working on a Mac as well. Now, there is a little bit of product difference between all these different versions. So I have the absolute latest. I have an Office subscription. That means that I get all the latest features. As a matter of fact, I even have features that are upcoming, which haven't been launched yet because I work as a Microsoft developer. Now, if I show you a feature which you don't have at the moment, do not worry. The moment you upgrade your system or you get a new version of Office, 100% you will get that feature as well. Nothing that I'm showing you is a paid feature. These are all free features by Microsoft. But do remember that some of them might not be available for you right now. If you don't have it, still learn it. And then maybe in the next few months, you will also get those updates. Excellent. The list of shortcuts I will be sharing with you separately. So again, if you want to write something down, you can. But I would urge you not to spend too much time writing all this because as you can see on every slide, I have written the shortcut in the top right corner, right? Or I've given the instruction. So everything is very self-explanatory. And I do not think that you should have any trouble with this. Wonderful. So let's get started. The very first shortcut that I like to use on PowerPoint is Control F1. So Control F1 allows you to hide the commands from the top, right? As you can see, Control F1 allows you to hide the commands. And if you press Control and Shift and F1, this allows you to completely hide the ribbon from the top. How do you bring it back? You press Control Shift F1 once again. Now, this is a universal shortcut. That means that this works with Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, all of the MS Office applications. What is the use? Why would you want to use this when you're working with PowerPoint? Typically, when you're working, you want to have more space to work on. And if you press Control Shift F1, as you can see, you get a little bit of extra space to work on. All right. Let me just go through all these navigation shortcuts first. The number one thing is dynamic zoom. Some of you might be aware of this, some of you might not. The problem with PowerPoint is that if I just zoom in like this, you notice that I cannot control the direction in which I'm zooming. It is randomly taking me to a direction. So I don't know whether I want to go up or down or left or right. How do you do this? Watch carefully. If I select this object and then I zoom in, do you see what happens? PowerPoint is smart enough to dynamically zoom only to that particular object. Watch carefully. If I select the small box and I zoom in, I will actually zoom in only to that small box. Similarly, if I select the heading and I zoom in, it will zoom me only to that heading. It's a very small thing, nothing difficult. It's just that a lot of people don't realize that zooming works automatically, but only when you have selected something. As an example, if I select this arrow, then I zoom in only to that arrow. And on most of your laptops, if you want to zoom in, you can either, of course, use the slider in the bottom right corner, or you can also pinch in and pinch out on your trackpad. Just like you zoom in and zoom out on your smartphone, the pinching in and pinching out on the trackpad will work as well. If you're using a mouse, then you can press Control and then you can scroll up or scroll down. Right? I don't have a mouse right now, so I can't show that to you. But Control, scroll up, scroll down, and also work. Okay, now there is a small button here in the bottom right corner where my cursor is highlighted. Everyone, in my bottom right corner, this is called the Fit Slide button. This means that if you have zoomed out too much and you want to come back to 100%, you can just click on this button. And then similarly, if you have zoomed in too much, sometimes you accidentally do this. You do the same thing. You click on this button and this takes you back to 100%. If you have a very large number of slides, like in my current PowerPoint presentation, I have 103 slides. You can see that in the bottom left corner. And if I want to view all my slides, if I want to see the story of my presentation, or maybe I just want to reorganize the slides, the best way to do that is not to scroll here, but to select the slide sorter. This is the icon which has the 4 rectangles on it. And the slide sorter essentially allows you to see all the slides like this in a grid. And here as well, you can zoom in and zoom out. You know, when you're working with 50, 70, 200 slides, it makes a lot of difference when you're able to view the slides like this. How do you go back? You simply click on the normal button, and then you go back to the normal mode. All right. The next thing is a section. Now, very few people use it, but this is a feature that has been in PowerPoint right since the beginning. Now, the problem right now is that I have 103 slides, right, which is very complicated because how do I know what is chapter 1 versus chapter 2 versus chapter 3? So if you notice, there's an option called section in the home tab. And if I say collapse all, these are my sections that I've created. So habitual consulting is my introduction, then navigation, working with shapes, tables. And as you can see, I can open any one section separately like this. How do you create these sections? Very simple. I'm just going to make a new slide so that you can understand. And let's say we have 6 slides with us. I first select my slide sorter. And let us say I want to have 3 sections. All the 3 sections should have 2 slides each. So between 2 and 3, we can click in the central area, right? So you get this red line. And I can right click and then say, I want to add a section. That's it. That's how simple it is. So I add a section. Again, after 4 and before 5, we can add a section. And this way we are able to break our presentation into 3 sections. Now, unlike Word, where you're allowed to keep sections, but also keep subsections, you can't do that on PowerPoint. So you can only have one level. So I can only have one level of sections. So you can't really, I mean, if you want to have 1.1, 2.1, 2.1.1, you can't really do that much. But even otherwise, I think it's still much better than working with all the slides without sections. I mean, without the sections, I would not have got this. You know what I would have got if I remove everything? It would have just shown me all the 103 slides. And look how much more difficult it is for me to explain something to you if everything is together in one single section. Again, if you notice, I have broken it down into different sections. So I can collapse all of these, and then I can focus only on the one section that I'm teaching right now, like this. All right, going back. So we've done sections. After that, we have our quick access toolbar. The QOT is available in the top left corner of your PowerPoint here, where my cursor is there. And how do you add something to the QOT? You can simply click on Add to Quick Access Toolbar. Let's take an example. Insert. There's a button called Screenshot, and there is another button called Screen Clipping. Now, screen clipping allows you to take a screenshot of whatever is there on your screen, or rather on your laptop. So what do I want to do? I don't want to select this button over and over and over again. So I will right click on this and then add it to the quick access toolbar. Do you see what happens? The button has come here. So this is like a shortcut that we have created, which means that even if I'm working on the home tab or on the slideshow, if I want to take a screenshot, I just have to click on this shortcut. And as you can see, I can just take a clip like this and that clip is pasted, right? I'll do that once again. Let's say I'm working with my browser, for example, right? Anything, let's say this one. If I want to take a screenshot, what do? I just click on screen clipping and I can just take a screenshot like this and it automatically gets pasted in PowerPoint. Now, why did I put it in the QAT? Because otherwise, every time I need to take a clip, I have to go to insert, then I have to click on screenshot, then I have to click on screen clipping. So what I personally like to do is that all of the 8-10 most common functionalities of PowerPoint that I use throughout the day, I always right click and add it in the quick access toolbar. As you can see, let's say you want to insert, let's select something. So let's say you want to insert a text box all the time. Same thing, right click on the text box and then add it to the QAT. So there is a shortcut created for adding a text box. Let us say you want to change the font color again and again, or maybe the fill color. Please see this, shape format. I will right click on shape fill and then add it to the quick access toolbar. And as you can see, Now I don't need to go to shape format to change my color. I have the options available right here. How do you remove something? You simply right click and remove it from here. So remember, anything that you add on the quick access toolbar gets added not just to your current PowerPoint presentation, but to all the PowerPoint presentations that are there on your system. So it's a system setting that you're changing. Of course, when you send the file to somebody else, he will not see these. This will only be your system individual settings. This is very simple. As you can see, I've written the shortcuts there, Alt F9 and Shift F9. So Alt F9 gives you a line. Do you see this middle and the central line? So this allows you to see the center and the middle point of your slide. Very handy. And if you press Shift F9, this gives you an entire guide like this, right? So the grid line is Alt F9, which is just one horizontal and one vertical line. And Shift F9 is this entire guide that you see. Of course, when you go full screen, you notice that the grid line or the guide will not appear. But it is very handy because when you're creating a PowerPoint slide, it is very easy, to have this grid in the background because it allows you to place and align all the objects in a much easier manner. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is how do you present your slides. So, of course, everybody knows that we can press F5, which goes to slideshow mode. We can press Shift F5, which goes to slideshow mode from the active slide. Like if I'm working on slide number 10, and if I press Shift F5, then obviously it takes me to full screen mode from my active slide. But I want to show you something that you might not be aware of, okay? And for this, I'll quickly have to change my monitor so that you're able to see this. Okay, do you see this, everyone? This is what is called the presenter mode. Let me just show you the shortcut once again. It's called Alt F5, not Shift F5, Alt F5. What is the difference between the regular presenter and this one? On this one, as the presenter, you can see the next slide, but the audience will not be able to see it, okay? The audience can only see your current slide, but you can also see your next slide. Also, any notes that you have added can also be seen here. Please watch carefully. Let's say I've added a note here saying, let's say, do not spend more than 5 minutes on this slide. So it's a simple note that you have given to yourself. Now the problem is that if you press Shift F5, then that note will not be visible, right? Of course, not to the audience, but not even to you. And then a lot of people say, what is the point of saving a note if I can't see it? So the trick here is you want to press Alt F5, and that will allow you to see your notes. And this is very handy, right? Because when you're giving a presentation to an audience, the audience can't see this, right? The audience can't see the next slide. They can't see the notes that you have saved for yourself, but you have the capability of seeing both these things. The other option is how to hide the thumbnail. The thumbnail is this column on the left side where you can see a small list of all these slides. As you can see, if I want to, I can minimize it or I can maximize it, but it doesn't really give me the ability of completely closing the thumbnail. So there's a trick to do this. The trick is, if you notice the shortcut, it says press Control and Shift and then click on the thumbnail view. Do you see this button where my cursor is there in the bottom right corner? So if you press Control and Shift, and if you press this button, this way the thumbnail is hidden. And now if I combine this with what I told you in the beginning, which is Control Shift F1, what will happen? Now my ribbon will also go away. And do you see the advantage in this? This looks like a slideshow mode, but remember, this is not a slideshow mode. You're still editing your presentation. I can still move everything. I can still see all my commands. If I want to, let's say, change the color, I can still go and then, change the color. I can make all changes, but I can still present it utilizing my entire screen estate. That is the advantage of using a combination of hiding the thumbnail and hiding the ribbon. So I'll do that once again. To hide the thumbnail, you press Control and Shift. The shortcut is already written. And then you press the normal button, this one. To hide the ribbon, you press Control, Shift, and F1. Very simple shortcuts. This is very simple. If you want to create a duplicate slide, the shortcut is Control, Shift, and D, as you can see. If I press Control, Shift, and D, it creates a duplicate slide. Now, the duplicate slide will even work if I'm inside my slide. Watch this. Even if I've selected something inside my current slide and I press Ctrl Shift D, it still creates a duplicate slide. Very handy. And then there is Control Shift and N. Okay, not Control N. Remember, Control N opens a blank PowerPoint. Just a second. Let me close everything else. But if you press Control Shift and N, what we are doing is, please watch this, we are creating a copy of your current PowerPoint presentation. But why would you want to do that? Why would you want to create a copy of your current PowerPoint? The reason is, please watch. Because I've created a mirror image of my current PowerPoint presentation, what I can now do is, I can press Windows Tab, like you guys press Alt Tab, right? When you want to move from one window to the other. Now I'm asking you to press Windows Tab. Windows Tab will show you all the screens like this. Do you see this? PowerPoint Training September 2019 1, that is the first one. PowerPoint Training September 2019 2. This is the mirror image that I've created. But why do I want to do this? The reason is, on the first one, I will right click and then say Snap Left. And then on the right side, I will also keep the PowerPoint. And do you notice how smart this is? Now I can view two different slides of the same presentation at the same time. So imagine you want to compare two PowerPoints, or you want to copy something from one PowerPoint into a different PowerPoint. It's very difficult, right? Because you copy it, but by the time you press Alt Tab and go to the other one, you get confused and you get lost. You're not sure what is happening. But if you want to rearrange, if you want to copy and paste some content, it's very, very simple now. As an example, let's say I wanted to copy this box from slide number 13 to slide number 30. Now, just see how easy it is. I can just click on 30 and I can paste it. Otherwise, you would have had to copy something, scroll down, paste it, and then again scroll up. That is the advantage of creating a new window. All right. Just a small tidbit. Remember, you can do this with Excel and Word documents as well. Just to give you an example, let's say you're working with a Word document, and I'm just writing some text here. Right? It doesn't matter what the text is. I've just written some text here. If you want to see two copies of my Word document, what do we do? Same thing, Control Shift and N. Right? That opens a second copy for you. And once you've done that, just a second, everyone. Okay, once you've done that, I can go left and right. And do you see how smart this is? I can actually see and compare two different pages of the same Word document at the same time. And this can be a remarkably powerful and useful tool. I mean, when you need it, you really need it, right? Of course, the same thing will work in Excel as well. All right. And in this chapter, we have one last navigation tip, which is how to create a mini slideshow. You do this by pressing Alt, okay, and clicking on the slideshow button. Everybody knows the slideshow button in the bottom right corner. Notice what happens. If I press Alt and I click on it, it opens a mini slideshow like this, where without going away from my current slide, I can actually see all the other slides. Very, very few people know about this tip. It's very handy because this allows you to quickly see the other slides without having to go away from the current slide. And let's say you want to jump to the other slide, you just press Enter. You just press Escape and it will jump you to that slide. Let me do that once again. I press Alt and Slideshow. Then let's say I want to go to a different slide. I suddenly feel, no, this is the slide I want to come to. So I can just press Escape and I can jump to that slide. So this is an alternative rather than scrolling up and down like this. It's a much better way of jumping from one slide to the other. And before I'll pause for 2 minutes. You can ask your queries. I also want to show you what are the shortcuts that work when you're working in slideshow mode. Okay, so when you're working in slideshow mode, if you want to hide, okay, you have this arrow, but if you want to hide it, you press Ctrl H. H will hide the arrow. If you want to unhide it, of course, you press Ctrl U. U for unhide. Now, let us say I want to convert my arrow into a pen. So I press Ctrl P. That gives me a pen. And as you can see, I can use my pen to do something on my screen, to annotate something on my screen. But let's say you have this, but you want the arrow back. So you press Ctrl A. That will give you the arrow. But what if you want to erase what you have drawn? So Ctrl P is for pen, A is for arrow. And if you want an eraser, the shortcut is Ctrl E. Control E gives you an eraser and you can erase this. What are the other shortcuts? You can press plus, just the plus button, nothing else, no control or shift. Plus will allow you to zoom in and minus allows you to zoom out. But if you press minus once again, you will actually go to a sort like this. So what you call a slide sorted in slideshow mode, where if you notice, I can see my sections and I can also see all my slides. So this is very nice, no? Because it means that if you want to jump from one slide to the other, you don't have to press escape, scroll down and press shift F5 once again. What do people do? We press escape, we scroll down, we click on another sheet and press shift F5. What I'm telling you is you can press minus and you can just see the slide you want and just click on it to quickly jump to that slide. What are the other ways of jumping to a different slide? You can press Control S. Control S will give you a list of all the slides like this. And of course, you can click on any slide you want to jump. And the third and the final way of jumping to a slide is, the first one is minus. The second one is Control S. And the third one is you just type the number and press enter. Watch this, please. Currently, I'm on slide number 51, everyone. Let's say I want to jump to slide number 40. What I do is I just type on my keyboard the number 1 followed by number 4 followed by enter. So if I type 1, 4 and enter, it will jump me to that particular slide. If I say 90 enter, it will take me to the 90th slide. This is a hidden shortcut. Again, very few people know about this, but if you remember the slide number that you want, then you can basically fool the audience, because the audience will not know what you just did, because you did not do anything, right? You did not press minus, you did not press escape, but very smartly, you can just type a number and press enter. And this is the quickest way of jumping from one slide to another slide, right? And the final two shortcuts are B for black and W for white. So B will turn the screen black like this, and W will turn the screen white like this. If you want to see all these shortcuts, you can press F1 and a list of all these shortcuts are available here. All right, so we'll take a small 2-minute pause here. We haven't started with shapes and animations and stuff like that. I just told you about navigation, but if you have any queries, please feel free to ask. So Abhinav, a good observation, when you press Control S in a full screen mode, it doesn't actually save the PowerPoint. It actually shows you a list of all the slides. So the shortcut has a different role in the slideshow mode. Like a Control A in a slideshow mode does not select everything. It just shows you the arrow. Yeah, so you have to be on the full screen. The mirroring step, sure, I'll do that. The objective, I hope, is very clear. If I ask you, guys, can you compare slide number 14 and 40? Now, how do you see two slides of the same PowerPoint at the same time? In fact, you know what? I won't tell you the shortcut. Even though the shortcut is very simple, Control, Shift, and N. Let me show you how you do it using the ribbon. So I click on View, and there's a button called New Window. Do you see this? Now, it's very strange that Microsoft has not written the shortcut here, but remember, there is a shortcut, Control, Shift, N. But anyway, you can click on New Window. So it opens a new window. But then how do you see all the applications at the same time? For this, you have to press Windows Tab, not Alt Tab, but Windows Tab. Now you can see all my windows at the same time. Now, what do I want? I want to see one PowerPoint on the left and one PowerPoint on the right. So right click and then snap left. And then I can select any other application. So I can select my other PowerPoint. And as you can see, I can see two PowerPoints. Remember, if you wanted to, I could have also seen my browser like this. So maybe I want to view my Google Chrome and my PowerPoint at the same time. Whichever two applications you have on your computer, you can see both of them at the same time. Right? So it's a very smart way of working if you want to multitask with multiple applications. Right? Anything else? You're welcome, Shalini. Vaishali, could I repeat? How did I open the slideshow help? F1. So when you're on full screen, just a second. So when you're on full screen, you can just press F1 and then you get a list of these help commands. All right. Excellent. So let's continue. We have done a lot of navigation. Now let's come to the next section, which is how to work with shapes. All right. Now imagine I give you a sample image like this. It looks very nice, no? This is a report card where you have these 3 and 6 rectangles. So I've given you 18 rectangles and every rectangle has a different color. Now imagine this, that I ask you to recreate this. This is an image. Obviously, I can't copy shapes from here. Now, how do you do that? It's very difficult, right? Because every rectangle has to be the same size. They also have to be aligned properly. So what I'll do is I'll just copy this on my next slide so that this is a reference for me. And let me close this. Remember, we want 18 rectangles. Now I want to show you how you can do this using a single shortcut, or rather 2 shortcuts. The shortcut is Control and Shift and then Control Y. Okay. When do you press Control and Shift? When you are dragging a shape. This means, let me first make a small rectangle, nothing special, just a small rectangle like this. Now remember, we want 3 of these rectangles, or let's say 5 of these rectangles. So what do I do? Let me zoom in. Now you know how to zoom in. You can just click on the shape and pinch in. I will not do Control C, Control V. Okay, I don't like doing that. What I will do is I will press Control and Shift. Okay, you have to press both the buttons, Control and Shift, and then make a copy. But you might be wondering, Havish, what is the big deal? The big deal is that because we used Control and Shift to make a copy, now I can press Control Y to repeat that action. Do you see this? Now imagine I want to make 5 or 6 such rows. I can now select all my rows, or rather my entire row. I can just drag by pressing Control and Shift one time down, and then Control and Y, and I can make these shapes. Just see how easy this is, right? And now whichever one you want to color, let's say I'm just choosing a few of them at random. I can go to shape format, and let's say I can select this green color. Okay, I'll do that once again. So let's say we want to work with, let me remove this. We want to make circles. So I can make a small circle like this. I will make a copy using Control and Shift and then Control Y. So I can get an entire row like this. All right, let me just put this in the center. Excellent. Now I can drag and select my entire row. Just Control and Shift to first shape down, and then I can copy this. And now if you want to choose a few of them and then change the shape into something else, let's say I want to make this a different shape, color them, I can do this. So that is how quickly you can create more shapes by using the power of Control and Shift. When you don't do Control C, Control V, do Control and Shift when you're dragging, and then Control Y to repeat that last action. As an example, let's say I had an arrow. Everybody uses this, no? So let's say I want to have 5 of these arrows because I want to show 5 steps. So what do? Control and Shift, I make one copy and then Control Y. Very cool, right? Now imagine we have 2 shapes with us. So I keep it like this. So I get this slight 3-dimensional effect. It looks very nice, no? Let me just keep it like this. So what do? I select both the shapes now and then Control and Shift. And now I can actually copy both these shapes multiple times. If you don't want a straight line, that is also possible. So if I press only Control, then I can go in any direction I want. But if I press Control and Shift, I can only go in a horizontal line or in a vertical line. Right? So I hope the difference is clear. When you press Control and Shift, you're restricted in your movement. You can only go horizontally or you can go vertically. But when you only press Control, I can go anywhere I want. So if I go here and I press Control Y, it will give me that direction. So whenever there is a sample given like this or like this, remember, you don't have to make 15 or 20 or 25 small shapes and then align it. You can just start with one, make an entire row, then select the entire row and make multiple rows. Right. It's very simple. It's just that the first time you do it, if you haven't done this earlier, you have to get your hands dirty. When you practice, you will understand it. This is very simple. How do you rotate a shape? You press Alt and the left or the right arrow. As you can see, if I press Alt and left and right, I can go clockwise or anti-clockwise. Same thing. I can select 2 shapes and I can rotate both of them at the same time. For that matter, I can even select an arrow and I can rotate it using Alt left arrow, Alt right arrow. It moves in 15-degree increments. So if you press it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, it moves 90 degrees. And you know the advantage, a lot of you might be wondering, Havish, why do I have a circle? In a circle, rotation will not make a difference, no, but it does. Because when you have some text inside this, when you rotate it, the text also gets rotated, you know, which can be very handy. Also, how do you make a perfect circle or a perfect square? The shortcut for this is you have to press Shift. What does it do? It draws you a straight line or it gives you a circle or a square. Please watch this. So when I go to Insert and Shapes and I select a rectangle, there's no option called a square. If I don't press Shift, then it makes a rectangle for me. But if I press Shift, then it only makes a rectangle like this. Right? I hope that makes sense. Same thing. If I'm making a line, insert shapes and a line. If I don't press anything, then my line can go in any direction. But if I press Shift, it will only become a straight line. Right. So I've shown you two things. One is Alt, left and right allows you to rotate a shape, and then Shift while drawing a shape allows you to ensure that it's a perfect circle or a perfect square or it's a straight line. Okay, let's see how the Eyedropper tool works. Like this is my company logo, so Havisham Consulting. Now, do you see this? These are the 5 colors which I'm using in my logo. I've designed my logo myself. So when I designed it, I wanted to make sure I use this blue and 2 grays and a white and a black. How do you get this color palette? Right. So let's just take an example. First, I need a reference image, right? So let's say I just choose something from my desktop. So I just quickly take a screenshot. Now, do you notice there are lots of these interesting colors in my screenshot? You know, this green and this magenta. I want that exact color, not that approximate, but that exact color. So I select my square, shape format, but I will not insert a color like this. I will go to the eyedropper, and the eyedropper now allows me to select any color from my reference image. As you can see, I can get exactly that color which was there in my reference image. And like this, shape fill, eyedropper, I can choose maybe this green. And then again, maybe I want a light green as well. So I'll select this area that's a little lighter in color. And then one more. Let's say we have a brown for the trees, and we have one final one, which is our sky, which is blue. Right? So that's how you can pick up the color palette from a reference image that you have. I think there is a website that does this as well. If you give me a second, I can find that. Get color palette from image. Do you see this as a website called Palette Generator? And how this works is that you can just import an image here. Let me see how this works. So let's say we have this image that I've saved on my computer. You know, so especially for those of you who work with other clients, this is very important because when you have to follow brand guidelines, this is mandatory. You have to follow the same colors that you are allowed to use. So let's see how this works. Let me go to desktop and I select my image. And do you see this? It automatically creates a color palette. These are called hex codes. These are not RGB codes, but you might not be aware of this. But now PowerPoint also gives you the ability of inserting a hex code. If you notice, I can just copy a code. Let's say this one. And where do I put it? If I want that code, let's say for this blue, I can go to shape format, shape fill, and I can go to more fill colors. And here I can change my color model from RGB to, no, the hex is here. So I can just put that hex code here. Okay? And if you notice, I get that exact color that was there on that website. So very smart. This allows you to choose, let's say if I want to see every single color that has been used on that image, maybe, you know, the 8 dominant colors or the 10 dominant colors, it tells me these are the 10 dominant colors that I've used. And it is beautiful. It also gives you a percentage. So it tells you the sum of whole. So how many times has the color been used in this image? Right? So there are 2 websites. You can either use Canva palette generator, canva.com, or you can use palette generator. Both are equally good. This one, again, I'll just quickly show it to you. This is the one that I personally use though. Very simple. You just upload any image that you want. And the moment you do that, it automatically tells you the main colors that you have used, right? Along with the hex codes. Excellent. How do you use drawing mode? Now, sometimes you want to draw several squares or several rectangles, one after the other. For some reason, you want to have different sizes denoting different achievement. Now, the problem is that if I go to shapes and I click on a rectangle, I can make one, but then how do I make the second one? Either I'll copy it or I'll have to again go back to insert shape. The trick is that we can lock our drawing mode. To do this, we say insert shapes. Watch carefully. I will not click on my shape yet. I will right click on it. And there's an option called lock drawing mode. What is the difference? Now I can draw a rectangle, and without stopping, I can keep on drawing more and more rectangles. Believe me, when you need it, you really, really need it. This can save you immense amounts of time. The amount of time people spend making a shape, copying and pasting it, then rearranging all of them, then changing the size for all of them. It's just so much simpler. And as you can see, I can do the same thing. I can go to my circle, and then same thing. I can have different circles of different sizes like this. Very simple. Once you know how to do this, it's super clear. So whichever shape you want, just make sure to right click on it and then lock the drawing board. Excellent. Grouping and ungrouping is very simple. It's Control G and then Control Shift and G. That's the shortcut. Control G allows you to group and Control Shift G allows you to ungroup. As you can see, all my circles are independent right now. If I want to group them, I can drag and select. Control G will group, so I can move them together. The other advantage, I can also make another copy like this. Okay. And then I can ungroup it by pressing Control Shift and G. Okay, let's come to something more advanced now. So I have this PwC image where there's this beautiful translucency effect that you see, right? Do you see how these colors are all blending into each other? So you have this red and this pink and this yellow and this orange. Just see how nice this looks. How do we do this? We have to choose something called format shape and then select the transparency. So let's say this is my reference image. This is something I've copied from the internet. And let us see how we can try to recreate the exact image. Insert, shape, and this shape that I've shown you is called the speech bubble, this one. So let me make one of them. I will make one. I just put it here. I'm not keeping the same size, but I'm keeping it approximately the same size, right? Now I can make one more. Reduce the size. We make one more. We can flip this a little bit, and then I keep this here. I can now copy this, put it here, make this a little larger. The reason I'm doing all of this is to also show you how quickly you can do all these things in PowerPoint, right? So you have all of this. The first thing I'll do is I will remove the shape outline, because when you want to create a this translucency effect, you don't need to have borders. Look at this. The border should not be there. So I remove the outline, and then how do I get the colors? This shape fill. I select eyedropper. I can choose this. Same thing. Shape fill, eyedropper, choose this. All right, so we are getting there. We have done most of this. We have got the shapes. We've also got the colors, but you notice mine doesn't look as impressive as this one. Why? Because there is this blended effect that is coming. To do that, we select all the shapes, right click, and then we say format object. And then on the right side, we open up fill. And remember, we want to increase the transparency, right? So I'll gradually increase the transparency till I start to see that translucency effect, something like this. You can even independently control it. Like on one of them, you can have a slightly darker one. Let me also change the color a little darker, something like this. So it's a beautiful effect that now you're able to create, especially when you have multiple shapes, one on top of the other. You get this very nice 3D effect. And the trick here is you have to remove the outline and then you have to increase the transparency. So if you look at this, Now, this can't be done using transparency. Why? Because transparency will not allow me to choose the third color. What I want is, I want to create two circles and I want to create a color of my choice. Right? This is how I do it. I will make two circles. First, I want to make these into three different shapes. That means that this area that is common has to become a third shape. So for this, I select both the shapes. We click on merge shapes and then we say fragment. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, but nothing happened, but something has happened. If you notice carefully, this is not two circles now, it has become three different shapes like this. Basically, I've fragmented my image. What is the advantage? Now I can individually control the color of each one of these three parts like this. So if you want to create something like this, now I know you can see how I did it. I made 4 circles. I selected everything. I clicked on fragment and now see how this beautiful Venn diagram can be created. A lot of people say, oh, can't I use transparency? No, you can't. Because if you put a red and a green color or whatever, a blue and a yellow, you're only going to get a green as a third color. You can't choose a red as the third color. If you want independent control over all the colors, then you have to use a transparency. You have to use a merge option, not a transparency. Okay. A lot of times you will see images that look like this, which have this very nice gradient effect. You see how this red color is like a sunburst, a sun shining from the back. A little difficult to create, but let's see how we do this. This is what I want to create, all right? I've given it 2 samples. One is this, the other is this. So I just create a blank slide. Let's first make a circle. I'll make a nice big circle like this. Now, what we want is we want to have this color spectrum, so this range of colors. For this, let me do this again, right click, and then we say format shape. Now look carefully. I want to go to gradient fill, not my solid fill, but my gradient fill. Now, immediately something is happening. But then how do you understand it and how do you control it? So right now I have 3 colors, 1, 2, and 3, which means if I change the last one to white and the middle one to pink, what will happen is you're going to get something like this. It makes sense, right? So the red is in the center. When you go outside, it becomes pink, and at the absolute perimeter, it becomes a white. Let me also remove the outline. How do you control it? You can actually move these around and you can change the intensity. Something like this. And do you see how nice these effects look? See, it will take you some time to get used to working with it because this is a design tool. But a lot of you who are wondering, oh my God, can I do all this in PowerPoint? Yes, you can. It just takes a lot of effort. Like I can even add a 4th point and I can change that to a different color altogether. Like this. And you can just play around with this till you get the colors that you want. Right? A lot of fun to work with. They make your current PowerPoints look really, really impressive because a lot of people will wonder, oh my God, how did you do this? And this has lots of options. I can literally talk about this for 5 hours. So you have these preset gradients. You can choose the color, but more importantly, I can also choose the type. So linear is like this. My rectangular is like this. Let me go back to my linear. I can also change the direction. So I can choose where the light is shining from. So if you want to create, let's say, a planet or something, this is how you're able to do this. So it's a fantastic effect that you're able to create. Let me just change these colors to something else. So see, you will have to spend some time. This is not something you can learn in a day. I mean, I've been working on PowerPoint for 20 years now, but I hope you can see how powerful these tools are. And of course, in addition to this, you can also increase the transparency. So if you want to create like this 3-dimensional effect, you can do that as well. Abhinav, yes, tell me. Abhinav, you can, in every shape, it moves from center to outwards. Not really, not really. See, let me just undo this a few times. See everyone, Now everybody says, oh, the dark color is in the center and the light is in the is at the perimeter. No? You can always move it. Watch this. I can move the red towards the end. I can move the yellow, the white in the center, and this way you can get. Let me just move this one. We don't need so many. And finally, I'll put another one in which I'll make this white, and this white will now come at the end. See, so now my white is in the center and the color is going out. So that is in your control. You can move these around. Okay, so the gradient stop lines from left to right work in a circle as center to outwards. Yes, yes, they work from center to outwards. So this is the center on the left side, and then this is the outward, which is the right. Absolutely. So Shalini, see, the recording is there. I will do one more example, but I hope you uh, can understand that I can't repeat the entire 5 minutes because I have a lot of other things to cover, but I will do one more example in any case. Let's take something else, okay, guys? Let's say we have a more practical shape. Let's say we have an arrow. I want to show a movement from, let's say, red to green, where the head is green and the tail is red. Let's see how we do this. Gradient fill. Let me first remove everything so that there's no confusion. Make sense? There are only two colors, white and white. The first thing I do, remember, is to remove the outline. Then I will put the end point will become a nice bright green. And then my starting point becomes a red. And then I will add one more color in the center, which I'll make it as a yellow. Okay. And just let me check once. It should be the other way around. So my green comes here. Makes sense? So now you can actually control this. You can say how much is red and how much is green, like this. It's a very nice effect, no? Like this. Let me see if I can show you something more. I will do this topic in more detail later, but there is an animation that we can create. So let's say I have this. I don't know if this will work or not because I haven't tried it, but let's see. I will make a duplicate slide. And on the other one, I'll apply a morph transition. And here, if I have my gradient fill when I'm moving this, let's see if this works. Okay, it might. Do you see this? Guys, watch carefully. Do you see what happened? I actually am able to convert my shape like this. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think it looks stunning. You know, it's a very soft palette, but you can just show that movement, you know, to it's a very subtle change, a very cool change that you're able to do. Let me make this a little more prominent. I think some of you probably might not understand this. Look at this now. Move it. Look how it sort of migrates towards the green color. Anyway, so I'll cover the animation later. Don't worry about that. Anything else on gradients? That's it, guys. Fundamentally, that is all there is. You can add as many gradient stops as you like. Remember, you're not restricted to 3. I can add as many as I want. Of course, you don't want to add too many because it gets very complicated to work with. And if you really want to go crazy, then you can also have different colors. And if you really want to create bands like this. Again, like I said, it really depends on what is it that you want. I can't give you an answer unless you guys give me a reference image. But I can assure you that anything that you see on the internet, I will be able to get very close to it by working exclusively on PowerPoint. Let me change this into a more practical shape. Let me make this into a circle or maybe a square. And you see how nice these effects can be. And they can look absolutely stunning if done properly. And of course, you can also decrease or increase the brightness if you want to make it a little more bright or not. Similarly, the transparency can also be increased. So it becomes a little translucent like this. Please practice. I mean, the most important thing here is to practice. It will take you a lot of time to understand this at a very nuanced level, but it is definitely worth the effort. All right. There's a question. Let me answer that. Saurabh, I will not cover this in a lot of detail. I hope you can see why. What I'll do is I will maybe put a PowerPoint video on my YouTube channel, but this is not really so important a topic that I want to spend 30 minutes on it. Fundamentally, you know what it is. Gradient stop essentially simply says that you can add, let me just undo this a few times. Like right now I have three colors, green, yellow, and red. If I move them around, I can change the position of those colors. If you want to add another stop, you can just click on the plus sign and you can add a stop. And that stop can have another color like this. Fundamentally, this is what is happening. After this, it comes to your creativity and the amount of hit and trial that you're doing, because you will have to experiment quite a lot to really get the colors that you want, right? So I promise you, I'll put a video on the channel in which I'll cover this in much more detail. Excellent. Then we have a shape like this. Now, this is something I've copied from the internet. And the problem is I don't have this shape on PowerPoint. But what if you want to create something like this? So watch this, insert shape, and I make an arrow. Now I want to convert my arrow into something like this. How do I do this? Shape format, edit shape, and then I don't click on change shape. I can't change the shape because I don't have the shape in my library. I want to select edit points. Edit points basically converts your image or your shape into an SVG. It's not exactly an SVG. An SVG, for those of you who don't know, is a scalable vector graphic, right? So scalable vector graphics essentially allow you to completely control. It's like what you do on Illustrator or on Corel Draw. It allows you to work like that. So see what happens. When I change it to edit points, now you see these black points have come, and I can actually control these and move it wherever I want. Do you see how powerful this tool is? I can actually change my shape to get exactly the shape that I want. Okay, let me do that once again. Something simpler. Let's say I have a square, but I want a S to come here. I want to have a curve. How to do this? Edit shape, edit points. Watch carefully. I will select my top left corner and then move it here. But do you notice that there is no curve that is coming? It's just a straight line. So right click and then say, I want a smooth point, not a corner point. And when I make a smooth point, it will actually make a curve for you. And this curve can also be manipulated. So you can actually change the curvature like this. See guys, this is all designing. So this is literally a 8-hour training that I'm giving you right now. Like just this one topic. I can literally talk for 8 hours about how to create different curves like this. My point is, don't worry if you're not understanding it 100%. Now you know what the tool is. The ball is in your courts. You guys have to practice about it. Like imagine the amount of interesting shapes you can create. If you make a circle like this, I can click on edit shape and then edit points. And if I want, I can make a concave, which otherwise is not possible, like this, right? Or a boomerang. I can also do other things. So I can change the circle to not really be a circle, but mold it into a completely different shape altogether. How cool is that? And this is not all. I can click on any point, watch carefully, and I can add another point, which means now I can control it even further. Right? So see, this is limitless. This is, like I tell people, this is almost like a design application. The level of flexibility that you have here is crazy. I mean, it's almost surprising that PowerPoint gives you so much control over the type of shapes that you want to create. Right? Very, very powerful tool. It's very difficult to work with. Just like I showed you earlier, it's like gradients. Unless you guys start to do this yourself, you will not really understand it very well. Okay. But the button is just one, edit shape and edit points. That's all. Skip this. Let me do a few more slides and then we can take a small break. So this is the simple bit, okay? If you want to align different shapes, very simple. The option is in drawing tools, format, and then align. Which one? Which is this one. So if you notice, I've selected my shapes, shape format. You can even select home and then arrange and then align. So the align option is available in two places on PowerPoint. One is home, arrange, and align. The other option is in shape format, where you see there is an align. It's the same thing. How do I want to align it? I want to align everything in the middle, but no, that doesn't work because I don't want everything on one horizontal line. I want everything on one vertical line, which means I want to align in the center. But if you look carefully, the spacing between all these shapes is not exactly the same. Do you see this? It's not equal. It doesn't look very nice. How do you fix this? Very simple. Now you say align and distribute vertically. That's all. What do we do here? We say align. First would be align middle, and then we say align, and then align distribute horizontally like this. So let us say that you move 6 a little further towards the right. Now I can reselect all these and I can again say shape format, align, and then align, distribute horizontal. So if you notice carefully, the 1 and 6 did not move. Only the 2, 3, 4, 5 were reorganized to fill up the empty space. All right. You want the merged, okay, I have an image with a merged color and I want the same color on something else. It's just one color, Vaishali. I mean, I'm not sure if I understand the question. So let's say you have an image like this. There's nothing called a merged color. Every color is a unique color. So if you say that there is this particular shade of magenta that I want, that's the shade that you choose. But it will only be one color. See, every color is a code, right? It's an RGB code or it's a hex code or it's a CMYK code. But it's just the code that you're copying. So I'm not really sure what you mean by a merged color. So can you explain that? Like if two colors are already merged into one color, then it becomes a new color. It's not a merged color anymore. It's a new color. And then whatever value is there that you can find out by using the eyedropper tool. All right, let me see. Yeah, you share the image later. Let me have a look at that. All right, let's talk about connectors. So let's say I want to connect these points. So let me just spread them out a little bit. Let me move my 5 and 6 a little towards the right. So let's say I want to connect 1 to 2. So the options are insert, shape, and a line. But I don't like a straight line. I personally always like to choose the elbow connector, this one. The elbow connector allows you to choose one and then drag it to 2. And guys, did you see what happened? When I have connected 1 to 2 using an elbow connector, even if in the future my 2 moves, the connector will move along with it. Right? So it works very smartly. And also, if you want to increase this, you can also increase this. Why is on edit shape edit not working? Because the edit points only works with a image that has a an area. A line doesn't have an area, so the edit points will not work with this. But if you want a curve, what you can do is you can insert a shape, and rather than the elbow connector, you can choose a curved connector. It's called the curved arrow. Fundamentally the same thing. You can just curve it and connect it to 4, and you can change the curvature like this. It's not the best option that you have because there are better tools that can create other flowcharts for you, but on PowerPoint, these are the options that you will have. And obviously when I move 4, the connector also moves alongside. On the connector, there are a number of things that you can change. Number 1, you can change the shape outline color, obviously. Number 2, you can change the shape weight, so you can increase the thickness of the connector. Number 3, you can also change the type of dash. So I can make it dotted or dashed or something else like this. And there is a new option added in PowerPoint last year, which is called the sketched. Oh, but again, the sketch doesn't work for arrow, skip that. And of course, you can change the arrow type. So you can make it a double arrow, you can make it a single arrow, or you can make them no arrows like this. Like I personally like this one a lot because if you're not showing a flow from A to B, then showing these dots makes much more sense. That's all there is. As far as connectors are concerned, there really is not much else that I have to tell you. You see there are lots of other small options if you want to experiment with them, but they will not really make a very big difference because PowerPoint is not really a very good flowcharting tool, because there's a different application that Microsoft has called Visio, which is some of you might have worked on this, which is a process flow diagram. That's the reason they haven't made PowerPoint charting very capable, because you already have a different diagramming tool available by Microsoft. But Visio is not a part of MS Office, so you have to pay for it separately. Okay, moving on. If you also keep a check on how much time we have. We have time. Let me just quickly see if I can cover quite a lot, but we'll do a little bit more and then we can take a small break. Let me come to this. Let me come to this, images. So very cool. Now images says that if you want to align it, there are two ways of doing it. I just put it on a new slide so that there's no confusion. Now in 2019, PowerPoint now has an AI feature called design ideas, right? Some of you might have it, some of you might not. But you need the latest version of PowerPoint for this. How do you work with design ideas? You click on design and then you select design ideas on the right corner. What does that do? In one click, it uses its own artificial intelligence to automatically suggest to you what are the different ways in which you want to present your images. Right? You don't have to do anything manually. Like, just see how pretty this looks. Right? So there are lots of designs that you have, and you can just choose the one that you want. But sometimes this becomes too much. You don't really want design ideas. In that case, what you can do is to select all the images and then click on picture format, picture layout, and then choose the layout. I'm just choosing the second row and the third one. And if you notice, all my pictures have become the same size and they have also become aligned like this. Right? Very cool. So all I did was I selected my images. I went to picture format, picture layout, and then I choose a layout. There are different layouts available. You can choose whichever one you want. So picture layout will align, and it also has the ability of resizing all the images. So every image becomes the same size. Very simple. There's not much else to this. And let's look at this. So you might have an image and you want to place this one image on top of this one. And you see how ridiculous this looks. Like if I want to place this Gulf Oil logo on top of his shirt, I can't do this because I've copied the logo from the internet. Also, I don't need all this background. I just need the person. Okay, I don't need the background. So what do we do? First, let me select my Gulf Oil logo. Watch carefully. I'm zooming in so you can see this clearly. I select picture format, and then the first option is called remove background. Now what is happening is that PowerPoint cannot read my mind. So PowerPoint doesn't know what I want, what I don't want. So what it has done is it is thinking that I don't want this gulf in the middle, but I do want it. I just want the white color to be removed. I don't want the center area to be removed. So I will say mark areas to keep, because I want to specify to PowerPoint that, see, this is an area that I want. How do I do this? I just draw a line like this. And this is how PowerPoint now understands that, okay, Havish wanted that area. And finally, when I say keep changes, just do that once again. Okay, just to keep. I hope you don't mind if I zoom out a little bit. A small part is still being left out. I think the problem is that I have to make this larger, otherwise it becomes difficult to work with. Right? I'll do it once again. Remove background, mark it as to keep. As you can see, I'm just drawing a line like this. Perfect, right? One more line. This is the image I want. When I click on keep changes, I will only get the PNG image. This means now I can place this very carefully. I can decrease the size. I can place it on my shirt. And now I challenge anybody to say that this was not the original image, because it is blending in perfectly. Just look at this. Now the next question is, but how powerful is this tool? Can it remove an entire background? Of course it can. I select my bigger image, remove background, and as you can see, I will say mark areas to keep. I can just choose a small line here, a small line here, and that's it. I say keep changes, and I only get this background image. So that is how powerful the remove background option is on PowerPoint. And you can theoretically have any image, and it would be able to remove that. Let me see if I can give you one more example. So I'm just choosing an image from the internet. Vaishali, no. So you can't have a text collage because you can create a smart art, right? So multiple text boxes, and I wanted in a creative design. Once you have created the boxes, then you're screwed. You can't do anything. But if you keep all the points inside a text box, let me just show this to you, then I'll come back to that. What do we select? I don't know. Let's just select a family. Something went wrong. And let me choose something more complicated, right? So let me choose, I think this will become a little too complicated for now. Let's choose an office setting. And maybe this one, right? Now we like this image. The problem is I don't like all this office background. I just want the people. I don't want the background. Let's see how we're able to do this. We click on, let me close this. We select image. We say remove background. And did you see this? I would say about 80% it is able to pick up automatically. So very carefully, I will say mark areas to remove because I don't want this area. And then what else? Mark areas to keep. I do want her shirt. Then I want his blazer as well. So I'm not doing this 100% because this will require 4-5 minutes, but I'm just giving you like a 90% answer so that you're able to see how powerful this tool can be. I mean, it's not Photoshop, but it gets very close to giving you the result that you want. I think we are good with that. Let me just add the folder as well. Okay, I'm not sure why I can't select the folder, but anyway, get the idea, right? Keep changes and we can only get this. Very cool, right? And see, again, it's no Photoshop. So even if you're able to do 70, 80%, that's fine. I mean, nobody's going to zoom in 100% and look at what you did. For the purpose of using it in a PowerPoint, I think it gets the job done really, really well. I mean, nobody can make out that this is not how the image was given to me originally. Very cool. And do remember that the advantage of doing this is that you can have these layered effects, you know, like I can have this on top of this one. So it allows you to create these very interesting effects because you can have multiple layers one on top of the other. And there was a slide on smart art which I can't seem to find. Just give me a second. Yeah, this one. So Vaishali, this is also the answer to your question. If you have bullet points with you, like I have this heading called video provides a powerful way to help you prove your point. It says when you, this is the sub point, this is my next heading, and so on and so forth. Very simple. I can right click, nothing else. Okay, don't even select the data. Right click, convert to smarter, and then just select a smarter. That's all. Once you have done this, if you want to change the color, you can click on smarter design, change color. If you want to change the layout, you can choose different layouts here. Basically, that's all. I mean, I don't really know what else is there for me to tell you. Like this one doesn't look good, but let me choose something else. Right, that's all. This is how you can convert text boxes into smarters, right? Which is nothing else but simply you simply have to right click in a text box and then you say convert to smarter. That's all. And you can choose the layout that you want. So obviously not every layout will be suitable for the type of text that you have. It depends on how much content you're presenting, but you know, you could always try these out. Excellent. We'll do one last topic and then we take a tiny, tiny break. This is about how something on the chat window. Let me check that. Okay. What I'll do is I'll just put this image on a new PowerPoint so that you guys don't get confused. It's a little tricky, okay? So don't worry too much if you don't understand it the first time. Just make sure to practice it. If you practice it, I assure you will understand it. Now I want to highlight an area on the map. One is this India-China area, and the other is this United States region, not an area, but a region. How do I do this? Watch carefully. I will first make a copy of my image like this. Now I want to only select this region, which is a circle. So we click on crop, crop to shape, and then I will convert this into a circle. Did you see this? Now my entire second image, which is my copied image, has become a circle. Now we want to reduce the size and only select the India-China region. So we click on crop, and now we can select this black handle, and very carefully I'm choosing the area that I want. Right? And now why did we do all of this? Because I wanted this circle, because I want to place this on top of my original image. And if I do this blending in perfectly, so guys, it looks like one image now. Obviously, nobody can figure out that there are two images. Why am I doing all of this? Why am I going through all of this trouble? Now I can right click and duplicate my slide. Okay. Select my original image, and I want to color it black and white. So do you see what happened? The original image is black and white, but that area that I selected is still colored. We can also, if you want to, we can also increase the size a little bit. Maybe not so much, a little lesser. And then I also apply a picture effect. This is optional, but I like doing this. A simple picture effect like this. So you get a three-dimensional rounded effect. But again, why did we make two slides? The reason is because on the second slide, I want to apply a transition called Morph. And what does it do? It creates this very nice animation for you, which looks like this. Please watch. So when this is my first slide, and let's say I'm presenting, I say that India and China together are about 25,000, and then it automatically zooms into India and China. But let's go one step further. Now I want to go from India and China all the way to the US. So I will duplicate my slide. Now I don't want to select India, China. I want to select a different area on the map. So I select crop once again. But I don't select India, China. I just move the map to select the United States. Okay. And of course, this bubble will also move here. Now see how my final presentation looks. On my first click, it zooms into India and China. Everything else is grayed out. And the second slide will look like this. It will actually move on the map. I have to select a different region on the map. Okay. So it's a very pretty effect, and you can use it with a map. You can use it with an object. Okay, so I will do this once again, but I will do this a little quickly, everyone, because see, you already have the recording with you, so you can always go back and watch this. But I'll do this with a different image. I won't do it with the same one. Otherwise, there's no point. For some reason, I want to identify different areas. I want to identify maybe his mic, maybe his right hand and his left hand. I want to talk about how to hold your posture when you're doing public speaking. Let's see how we do this. I will make a copy. I'll make a copy. We first say crop, picture format, and then crop to shape, and then we select a circle. Again, we click on crop, and now we want to very carefully select only this right hand. All right. Where do we place it? We place it exactly above his original image. And I'll do it in a way that it blends perfectly. Is it blending? Okay, it's close. We make a duplicate slide, right click and duplicate. I will color the original one black and white. So picture format, color, and then black and white. Now this part is highlighted, which is great. I also want to increase it a little bit so that I can emphasize on this. We apply a picture effect. It could be any effect that you want. Then we duplicate the slide once again, and then we recrop it. So I want to select a different area, which is my other hand. And just a second. All right. Now I can move this here. And when I apply a morph transition on, remember both our slides, second and third. So animations and, sorry, transitions and morph, our final effect will look like this. On my first transition, it emphasizes this is how you hold your right hand. And then I say this is how you hold your left hand. Again, how you use it with a person, you use it with an object, you use it with a background, you use it with a map. I leave that up to you. The steps are what I've told you. It's not necessary to make a circle. Remember, you can always make it a different shape as well, but typically for a magnification, a circle makes much more sense. Also, remember, you don't need to have the same size. A lot of people feel, oh, does this mean I need to have the same size? Absolutely not. Maybe I wanted the other one to be much smaller. You can leave the morph transition to take care of all of that. As you can see, my first one is a little larger. My second one automatically zooms in. You see how nice this is? The first one is larger. It actually now zooms in to that small area. So again, completely up to you how you utilize these tools.
So, Avish, do we have to really, add 2 or 3 more slides to use this transition, or it happens on the main master slide as well?
You have to add slides. So in the morph transition, the steps say you have to duplicate a slide, you have to move some things around, and then you have to apply the morph transition. So if you need 5 staggered movements, let's say from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, you will need to have 5 duplicate slides.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, of course, you can take the old route and you can do it manually using animations, but creating animations otherwise will be much more difficult. So we'll take a 5-minute break, we'll come back and continue, but introducing you to some new features that have been launched. In Insert, you might not have this yet, some of you, but I'm still showing them to you. In Insert Picture, now there's an option called Stock Images. Basically, stock images are premium content, so very high resolution images from the internet. And these are images that are copyright free. So now you don't have to go to Google. I can just go to stock images and let's say I want to search for business. And whichever image I like, I can just click on them and then I get this wonderful high resolution image inside my PowerPoint. That is number 1. Number 2, they have added the ability to insert an icon, right? So you don't have to Google different icons. You can actually now search for icons on Microsoft. And these are all free icons. And you can even change the colors. So let's say I want to have, again, let's say business. And I'm just choosing a few. Let's say we want this and maybe my clipboard. So, all the icons have come. And if you go to graphics format, you notice I can even change the colors. So these icons are editable. How cool is that? Imagine even if you had something that you got online, you would never have been able to recolor it because it's an image. But now you have the capability of actually recoloring these icons. Beautiful. And the third thing that they have launched is Insert. So the first one was Insert stock pictures or images. The second is icons. The third is 3D models. Again, 3D models are, like it says, it's the 3D model. So if I search for anything, maybe a table like this. Let me just put this on a new slide so that there's no confusion. Okay, I'm not sure what is happening. Just a second, guys. Must have pressed something. Okay, I don't know, something went wrong. Give me a second, let me just reopen my PowerPoint. Okay, all good. So let me quickly jump to the slide sorter and then come to our 3D models. Okay, so how a 3D model works is that it is just like an image until you realize that, oh my God, this is a 3-dimensional model. That means I can actually move this around. How cool is that? right? I mean, these sort of things were not possible on PowerPoint, right? Even as recent as 2-3 years back, you couldn't do all this on PowerPoint. Stunning, right? And remember, you can even add your own animations now. So you can have these animations where the table turns, all that stuff like that. Okay? So very cool. So you can either get the ones that are available for free on the internet. You can also select insert 3D models right from here, from online sources, or you can ask your design team to create these for you if you want to use your color palette and your design templates. Excellent. So once we're back, I'll tell you how to connect your Excels to your PowerPoint in a manner that if a change happens on the Excel, it happens on the PowerPoint as well. And I will tell you how to work with charts on PowerPoint. And then I'll take you through some settings on PowerPoint, some settings that you would not have noticed, right? So 4:27, please come back in 5 minutes. So 4:32, we'll just take a small breather. I would have liked to give you a longer break, but I have a session after this, so I would not be able to extend. So let's reconnect in 5 minutes. All right. If you have any queries, just put it in the chat window. I'll come back and answer. So I will answer that question, mathematical equations. I'll just do it. And I'm back. So this one question. No, Rohan, I will not be able to cover storytelling for you for a number of reasons. I think the biggest reason is that I'm not the right person. Storytelling is more of a business communication trainer who can teach you. I'm a technical trainer, right? So I can give you the tools. I can, as a consultant, I can share my experiences with you, how to work with the tools and how to make things work, which is a little complicated. I can teach all of that to you, but storytelling is not really something which I think I'm capable of doing. And also, it's not in the scope of the webinar. I mean, it would be unfair for me to talk about it for 5 minutes.
Sure, no worries.
Any other questions, anyone? Okay, I think we should continue then. Let me quickly show you how Excels are connected with PowerPoint. So I'll open a blank PowerPoint so that there's no confusion. And guys, I'll only have one chance at this because we won't have time to repeat it. So I'll explain it slowly, but just observe very carefully. So I have this data set, nothing special. We have 5 regions. We have sales for 5 years. This actually should not be region, this should be my year. So we have 5 years, we have sales and profit. What I want is that when a user makes a change to this Excel, the same change should reflect back in the PowerPoint as well. All right. So what we do here is, please watch. I will open a blank PowerPoint presentation. We will insert a table, but not a regular Excel table. Not a regular PowerPoint table. We'll insert a Excel spreadsheet. So what do you get? Now what we have is a blank Excel spreadsheet inside my PowerPoint. If you notice, this is an Excel file within my PowerPoint. Now I can go back to my original Excel, copy these 6 rows and 3 columns, come back. But remember, we don't want to paste it. We want to do a paste link. If you do a paste, then it's a copy and paste. But we don't want to do paste it. We want them to be linked to each other. For this, we select paste, and then we select paste link. As you can see in the formula bar, all my cells are now linked to PowerPoint Training September 2019, the Excel file, and the sheet 1 and B2. That's the cell, right? The format here has gone wrong, but that's okay. I can always change the formatting here itself. As you can see, I'm making it left aligned. I'm making the heading bold. I'm also increasing the width, and I'm making these into percentages, all right? And very carefully, I also want to come at the bottom, and I want to add a sum of my sales, and I want to add the average of all my profit percentage. Obviously, the sum wouldn't really make any sense. So watch this, everyone. I will select the sales amount, and then in conditional formatting, we can apply a color scale or maybe a data bar. So we get a nice data bar like this. Let me increase the width a little bit more. And on my profit percentage, we can apply a top bottom rule, and I can make this the top two. So basically my top two percentages, which is 8% and 10%, is colored in green. Once all of the linking is over and the formatting is over, if I go back to my PowerPoint, you get this. But you know what the best part is? This is not an image. This is actually an Excel sheet that has been linked to the other sheet. So if you notice, if I make any change to my original Excel, do you see this? My PowerPoint changes as well. The formula changes, the conditional formatting changes. Again, if I make any change here, my data bars also change. That is how you can link an Excel file to a PowerPoint presentation. Step 1, you insert an Excel spreadsheet. Step 2, you copy the data from Excel. Step 3, you paste the data on the PowerPoint as a link. And then you can do whatever formatting calculations you want on the PowerPoint directly. And then both of them are linked with each other. Any questions, anyone on this? Okay. Of course, you will have to try this out on your own, but this is how we do it. This is the only way of doing this, right? And of course, the file still continues to work. If you notice, I closed the Excel, but if I double click, you notice that the formula bar is still active. It is still connected to my Excel sheet. Just like two Excel files are linked, now I have managed to link a PowerPoint along with an Excel. Okay. The next thing I want to do is to show you how charts can be connected as well. So for this, I need a chart. So let's just make a simple chart from maybe this one. So there are 8 divisions, and every division has a actual and a target, right? I will copy this. We'll come back on PowerPoint and we'll press Control V. No fancy stuff. We've just done a paste. Now what will happen is that, of course, it is linked to each other. That is linked by default. You don't have to do anything. But how do I present the story? Now, I don't want to show everything at the same time because then I can't control my narrative. So what we want is to go to animation, right? And then open up the animation pane, which means I can now click on add animation and then select the first one called appear. So what happens? It says that there is an animation called chart 4, which is appearing. But what's the point? You don't want the entire chart to appear at the same time, right? Because there are different departments and there is a target value, there's a sales value. You want all of them to come in a controlled manner, not all of it at the same time. So now we click on effect options, and there are lots of options here. So we have series, category, element in series, and element in category. If I select series, then you see what happens. Now I can press the next button, and then one by one, I can show my entire grid. Then I show my actual, and then I show my target like this. And you can experiment with this. So you have different options here. So here I can actually show it one by one like this. So this is very handy because it allows you to control your charts in a manner where you can control how you want to show. If you want to take this one level deeper, you can open up the animations. And if you notice, all of these are coming on single clicks. So perhaps what I can do is I can select number 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I can say start with previous, which means what? On my first click, only the first bar appears. On the second click, these 5 will appear. So if you notice, on my first click, I only get the axis. On the second click, I get 5 bars, but then it is control. So if you really want to have precise control over your narrative, this is how you can do it. For example, let's say there is a shape, and I said, this is the reason for slow sales, which I want to put here, right? Because this is the reason for slow sales. So we can add an animation called appear. Now, where does the animation go? That animation has come below my existing animation. But if I select this and I try to drag it above, I can just put it somewhere here. Makes sense, right? Now, what will happen is that you have taken the chart, but very smartly, you have added another animation in the middle of that chart animation. So look at the level of control you have. You have a chart that is already connected to Excel, but you can also add your own comments, what you call annotations, within that presentation. Not afterwards, but during the presentation. Of course, it requires some time for you to prepare all of this. Like if you notice, I'm not covering these advanced topics, but I can also move these around. So I can control the duration between each one of the bars. I can also choose whether the bar takes 1 second to appear or 3 seconds to appear. So there are lots and lots of options available here. Right? For example, I can say that the timing should be a delay of, let's say, 6 seconds, right? Which means that, of course, when I press next, you notice the other two appear after a small delay. It doesn't appear at the same time. Fundamentally, this is what you do. All the options are available here. Animations on PowerPoint is a separate topic altogether. This is like an entire 8-hour training that we do for corporates. And I'm sure you can see why. But I've given you all the basics, which is how do you do all these animations on one click? How do you add another animation in the middle, like we did this rectangle? And also, how do you make multiple animations appear at the same time, which we did by pressing start with previous. So
can you make disappear one and then show how that works?
Absolutely. So what I could have done is I could have selected these objects, add an animation called disappear, and then all of these disappearing animations that are there, we could have put it after this, right? And we could have said start with previous. I think I did something wrong. Just a second. Add animation and then disappear. Oh, I think it's coming for all of them. No problem. Let me see if I can do it with only one. So add animation and disappear. Yeah, so I'll just give an example. I'll have to remove all the others. See, this is a very time-consuming task, but it can be done. So I can remove all of these. There's only one disappear. I'll keep this here. So if I've done it correctly, let's hope so. On my click, see, the orange disappears and the others appear, right? But the sequence obviously will have to control one by one. So I'll tell you how we do this. Like you see all these names are here. So you can select effect options, and I don't think you can change the names here. No. The name changing is not allowed here. So in a chart, you will have to depend on the numbers that are being shown here. What you can do is you can probably increase the size, but then also the name will not be visible. So Rohan, you will have to do this with a little bit of effort. Not hit and try, but you'll have to be very slow and one by one, first make a story on a A4 sheet, write what is it that you want, and then one by one you can create. And of course, animations can be much more powerful. As an example, if I, let's say, have a shape, just I'm just removing everything. I'm just keeping my one animation in the center, one here and one more. So what I want is I want these to keep on rotating on its own. So animation, add animation, and then we say spin. So you notice it starts spinning, but it also stops spinning. I don't want it to stop spinning. What I want is to go to effect options and then say, keep on spinning and keep on repeating until the next click. Makes sense, right? There's also an animation painter, like a format painter. So I can copy the animation here, and I can now copy the animation here as well. So as you can see, what happens is when you go to the slide, they all keep on spinning until and unless you say stop the next one, like this. So again, it helps a lot when you're presenting a narrative because you can control the way you're showing different elements. If you really want to go one level further, you could have said, once it's spinning, I also want an arc so that it moves from here all the way to here. Changing this a little bit. And if I say start with previous, start with previous, right? This will be start. All right. So on my first click, I'm sorry, go to the next slide. On my first click, they start spinning, and on my next click, they start spinning, and that cog moves towards the end. So like this, there's a lot of control that you have over how you prepare your PowerPoint. Unfortunately, there is no one good source from where you can learn animations. There is a channel on YouTube which is called, even though it's very advanced, it's called the PowerPoint School. It's by an Indian guy called Zubain or Zahid, something like that. Let me show you. Just show you this. Anyway, his name is not written. Zaman. His name is Zaman, right? And he has this wonderful channel. And you know, when you look at this, some animations this guy creates, you'll wonder, oh my God, has he managed to literally do this? Or do you see the shapes and all? He has created this on PowerPoint. Can you beat that? It's unbelievable. Right? This guy is really, really, really good. But remember, it's very advanced, and not to scare you, I'm just giving you a small caution that don't jump into this in a hurry. You will have to spend a lot of time to really understand how it does all of these things. Right? I mean, as you can see, his animations are literally, do you see this? He's actually drawing all of this. How awesome is that? Okay. So he hasn't literally just copied something from the internet. So strongly recommend. I mean, if you guys are interested in animations, you can't beat him. Wonderful work. It's called the PowerPoint School. PowerPoint School. Excellent. I can talk about the settings now. So there is one option that allows you to click on File and then Export, not Save, okay? Export. And you can save it as a GIF. This is something new that has been added. You can save it as a PDF. This obviously everybody knows. And you can click on Change File Type and save it as a JPEG as well. That means that every single slide will be saved as an individual image on your desktop inside a folder. If you want to save it as a video, then you say create a video, and then you can choose the resolution, and you can choose the interval size. So from slide 1 to slide 2 to slide 3, there is a 5-second delay. And then this will save your entire PowerPoint as an MP4 file in case you want to send it out to somebody in a way that they can't edit it. Because see, if you send a PDF, if they're really smart, they can still do something and convert that back into a PPT. If you send it as an image, then they can't do anything. If you send it as a video, again, they can't really copy anything you've done. They'll have to recreate. The other option is that if you want to save your PowerPoint with a password, you click on Save As. Okay. So I'm just going to call this my PW. So this is my password. How do I save it as with a password? We click on Tools, and then we say General Options. A lot of people feel it's the same options, but it is not. It is the General Options. And here I can put 2 passwords. So I say for opening, it is O. For modification, it is M, right? So same thing, for opening, it is O, and for modification, it is M. What does it do? Something very smart. I'm going to close this. So let's say you send this over an email to somebody. What will he do? He will double click. You notice it doesn't open. It says, please enter the password to open the file. Let's say I have it. So I put O, and it opens it. Now it says that the PowerPoint is protected by Havish. So do I have the password to modify, or do I open it as a read only? Now let's say you haven't given somebody the password to modify, which means he will have to select read only. Now what will happen is that he can see the entire PowerPoint, but do you see this? All the options are disabled. He can't make any changes to it. He can't even move a slide. He can't right click. He can't move any object. He can't change the color. So this is a very smart way of ensuring that you're sending somebody your PowerPoint presentation, which is a PowerPoint. It's not a PDF. He can still go to slideshow mode. He can still present it, but he will not be able to copy any slide or any object or any of the hard work that you guys have. Okay. Like if you go to the animation pane, oh, that was in a different slide. Anyway, the animation pane is visible, but again, he can't copy and paste anything. So that's how you protect your PowerPoint files. Okay, what else? Right, so there is also a screen recording option. So let me open a Excel file. Okay, so I insert an icon. I want an icon of a mobile phone, let's say. Make it a little more interesting. Let me change the color a bit. And I'm going to increase the size a little bit more. So let's say you want to give an explanation to a user in which you want to tell them how to change the format on Excel from millions to a shortened abbreviated format. That means you don't want to say 1,234,000, you want to say 1.23 million. This is how I'll show it to you. Insert, and then on the right side it says screen recording. This is going to record whatever you're performing on the screen, right? What do I want to record? I want to record my Excel. So I just select this area that I want to record, right? The audio is turned on so that the audio also can be recorded. And I click on record. So if you have a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this is 1,234,567, and I make a copy. How do you change the format? Right click and then format cells. Then in this box, we click on custom. And in custom, we have to put this format, the one that I'm showing to you right now. The format is called, it's a custom format, right? So this is hash 0.00, comma, and then mil. I'm not going to explain all of this right now. You can just copy and paste it if you want. And see the result. Now it will be shown as 1.23 mil. But even though the number is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this is how you can prepare financial statements. I'll stop the recording. And now this entire recording, guys, can be put inside my PowerPoint presentation. As you can see, I can put it inside my icon. And how do you send it to a user? He will open up the slide, and very nicely, he can just click on the play button. So it's a very nice way of presenting, different videos that you might have. And I always believe that like a picture is worth 1,000 words. I feel that a video is worth 10 pictures at least. It's so much easier to explain something with a video compared to writing a comment or even sending them images. Right? Some new AI features that PowerPoint has added, I'm not sure if you have them or not. Some of you might. There's something called Dictate that uses Microsoft speech services so that you can speak to the system and it will convert your speech into text. As you can see, the Dictate feature in Microsoft PowerPoint allows you to speak to the system and it converts your speech to text in real time. It's very cool. This is something that has been added on Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, and you can see the amount of time this will save people. Okay, how to write mathematical equations. So for this, Saurabh, you have to select insert equation. So insert equation should be in insert, and you have equation here, and you say insert new equation, or you can select ink equation. So when you put in ink equation, you can actually draw it. If you notice, I can literally draw. So if I don't have a mouse right now, but if I put a symbol, do you see it automatically changes that? So if I say E, it makes it a sigma, right? If I put a small n here, even though that did not work, just a second. E. Anyway, if you have a mouse, it will work much better, right? So this should be n like this. Very powerful. And over the years, they made it even more powerful. As you can see, I can select something. It gives me different options that I can choose from. Because now you have artificial intelligence, it's much smarter at figuring out what is it that you want to write. And as you can see, it works really, really, really well. especially if you have a mouse with you, you can just literally freehand draw, and it just works. Like I can just select this. I can say, no, this is supposed to be left parentheses. It makes a left parentheses. This is supposed to be, this is not figuring it out. But anyway, get the idea, right? Works beautifully. It's supposed to be used with a stylus, but I mean, even if you have a mouse, it will work. Right. Good. So I think we covered a lot of topics. I can't think of anything important that I've left out. Of course, I mean, there are so many things. I would be happy to continue for 5 more hours, but I hope that gave you a good idea. I will be sharing the recording with you, the PowerPoint that I worked on, and some tips and shortcuts as well. So I've also written a book on PowerPoint, so you can have a, I'll send you a copy for that as well. Any queries, anyone? I hope I haven't left out anybody's questions. Yes, yes, practice, practice, practice. Practice is most important. So, all right, so thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the session. And for any queries, feel free to reach out. I'm not sure what type of queries you'll have on PowerPoint, but nevertheless, if you have something you want to ask, I'm always available. Excellent. Thank you, Shalini. Thanks, Samir, Saurabh. Thank you, Vaishali. Thanks, Shubham. Thanks, Abhinav. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.